So today we'll be looking at the point slope formula, and we're going to go straight into slope intercept form and then come back to standard form. So we'll still be doing the other two forms that we looked at, but we're going to be starting with point slope form. If you look at the name in itself, what are two things you need here? You need a point and you need a slope. You need both of them. All right, so if you picked up your highlighter, go ahead and highlight the name. That way, if you're looking for the type of form, it stands out to you. So point slope form. Once you figure out what your slope is and what your point is, like it is here, here we have m is -2 and your point is 3, 5. Then all we're going to do is we're going to plug this into the formula. So this is m. Your point, whatever it may be, you're going to substitute in for x1, y1, which is in the formula. So you'll plug in a number here, and you'll plug in a number here. In the end, you should still have an x and a y. So everything's not going to have a substitution, only the x1 and the y1. So for example, it says write an equation in point slope form for the line with a slope of -1/2 that contains point -2 and 4. So we're going to go ahead and label the slope with an m. So m equals -1/2. Whatever your point is, we're going to label this x1, y1. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to have you guys substitute first. So I'm going to start off with the formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right. Remember, we're only plugging in for the y1, for the m, and the x1. Those are the only places substitutions should happen. So the first part's going to read y minus, what's my y1? Y minus 4 equals, what's our m? -1/2. And then x minus, what's our x1? A -2. Good. All right, so we're just going to put this in point slope form. So I'm having you put it into point slope form, which means all I'm going to do now is clean up. What's the only thing that needs to clean up here? We're not moving anything over yet. We're just cleaning it up. The double, inside the parentheses, that double negative can turn into a positive. So I'm going to write y minus 4 equals -1/2, and this is x plus 2. So this is in point slope form. So if you want to draw a little arrow so you know that that's the first answer. And then the second part then says, then convert this equation to slope intercept form. What does slope intercept form look like? Remember what that one looks like? Y equals mx plus b. So this one's asking for you to put it in this format. To do this, all we're going to do first is we're going to distribute. So if you have space here, I'm going to rewrite my equation over here to the left side so I know what I'm working with. Okay, I'm going to solve this to be into y equals. So I'm going to distribute that half. So what's 1/2 times x? 1/2 x. And then what's half of 2? 1. Positive or -1. If it's a negative times a positive. A negative, good. The left side, we're just going to bring down. So the last step I have to do is get rid of the 4. What do I want to do to get rid of the 4? Just add it. Am I going to add it to the half or to the 1? To the 1. So y equals -1/2 x plus 3. And that's your answer for the second part. So this one's slope intercept form. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys try one of each. Okay, so this one says write an equation in point slope form with the line of a slope of -2 and a point that contains, or a line that contains 5, -7. So your slope here, and then your point here. All right, Henry, what did you write for your equation? You put y minus what? Y minus?
-7 equals -2, x minus 5.
X minus 5, good. Any cleanup we have to do here? Any double negatives we need to clean up? Over by the y, right? So this would be y plus 7. And then keep this the same. For point slope form, if I just want it in that form, then you're just stopping there. The second part wants you to convert it to slope intercept. So then from here, if I was to continue, what would be your next step? Distribute or multiply the -2. -2 times x is, and -2 times -5, +10. And then are we done? Is the y by itself? So what do we have to move over? Do you want to subtract it to the 2 or the 10? The 10. So we minus 7 on both sides. Y is equal to negative 2x plus 3. Okay, so that's starting from point slope. We're going to standard form. So the next example, it says write an equation in slope-intercept form. So that's the y equals mx plus b of a line with the slope of negative 3/4 that contains this point, then graph the line. So it wants you to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So we want it in this format, but I just give you 1 point. So this is where that point slope formula becomes useful because you don't know what the y-intercept is. So to get there, we'll do what we did earlier, label it x1 and y1, and then label your slope, whatever slope is given to you. So we're going to plug it into the point slope formula. All right, so here I'm going to have y minus, what's my y1? 5 equals negative 3/4 times x minus a negative 2. Double negatives convert to a positive. And I'm not going to rewrite it because I'm going to try to go straight to slope-intercept form. So from here, what do I want to do with that slope, that negative 3/4? Distribute it. So negative 3/4 times x is just negative 3x/4. And again, when you multiply only the numerators. So what's negative 3? What's negative 3 times 2? Negative 6, carry your 4. All right, we won't do we'll go ahead and convert that to a decimal. Can y'all do 6 divided by 4 for me? What would that give us as a decimal? What is it? 1.5? The reason I'm going to have you convert it is because we're going to have to graph it. And it's easier to graph it if we have an idea what that decimal is. Okay, so now we have to do what? Add 5. Good. So let's add 5 to the end. So y equals negative 3/4x. What's negative 1.5 plus 5? 3.5. All right. So here's your answer. Here's your slope-intercept form. How do we graph this? What do we graph first? The y-intercept. So I'm going to graph this first. I'm going to just write a note here. Graph first. All right. So positive 3.5 would be about right here. And from that point, we need to give it a slope of negative 3/4. If my slope is negative 3/4, what direction am I going? Down 3 and then? Right 4. All right, so we're going to go down 3, but be careful because you're counting halves. So I'm going to zoom in so y'all can see. So we're going to count halves, down 3/4. So here's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's about 4 and then a half. All right. And just a reminder that if I went down to the right, I can do the opposite. I can go where? Up to the left as well. All right. And then once you have at least 2 points, we can go ahead and graph our line. All right, Lolly, what's my slope, Lolly? Negative 3/5. What's your x1, y1? Negative 10 and 8. Good. So how did you plug it into your formula? All right, she said y minus 8 equals negative 3/5. And then x minus a negative 10. That double negative converts to a positive. All right, so then from here, Sean, what should we do? Distribute?
Yeah.
What do we get when we distribute?
You multiply the insides.
What would I get as for my next line?
Negative 3 plus x minus 6.
Minus 6. All right, so when she multiplied, that's negative 30/5, which just gave her that negative 6. Good. And then our last step here, Blake, what should we do? Add the 8. So y is equal to negative 3 over 5x, and then plus 2. Okay, so then what should we graph here?
The 2.
The 2. All right, so we're going to graph this first. All right, so we're going to graph 2. And then from the 2, I'm going to give it a slope of negative 3 over 5. So what direction should we go?
Down.
Down to the right. So I'm going to go down 3 over 5. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or we can go up to the
3 and
left. All right, so we can go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So either one. And you can do both. You can practice going both ways because that'll give you good practice, okay? All right, when you're ready, we'll go to the next page. All right, so looking at example 3. Example 3 says, write an equation in relation to the given line. So this one says, using the point slope equation. So right there, that tells you what you're using. Using the point slope equation. So you're using y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Because remember, you need a slope, you need a point. It says, write an equation in slope-intercept form that's parallel to this line and goes through this point. So what do you think is going to represent my x1, y1? 1 and negative 2, good. That means we have to know what m is. What's going to be my m? y2. Because it has the x, and I need my line to be parallel to it. So your m is just going to be 2. So y minus negative 2 equals 2, and then x minus 1. All right, double negative turns into a positive, so that's y plus 2. What is 2 times x?
2x.
All right, so that's 2x, and then 2 times negative 1?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. All right, carry down the left side. All right, then what's my last step?
Subtract 2.
Subtract the 2. So my final answer in slope-intercept form, because that's what they wanted, is y equals 2x minus 4. And that's it. So this one wasn't as much work. What was crucial here is that you knew what parallel was, right? Because parallel means to be the same. But you also had to identify it in that given equation. All right, so we're going to do this one. All right, Jaden, what was the key word on this one? What did you have to be careful with? Perpendicular, good. What was your perpendicular slope? Negative 1 over 2, correct. Make sure that if you're ever having to convert, remember there's a 1 there, so you do have to flip it and then change it. Point is still x1, y1. All right, so Noah, what did you plug into your equation? You put y minus what? Good, equals?
Equals
1 over 2 times?
x
7? All right, so double negatives turn into a positive. Brandon, what do I get when I distribute that negative half?
negative 1/2 x.
Good. And half of 7?
3.5.
3.5. Double negative turns into a positive. And y'all can go ahead and convert that to a decimal. It'll make it easier when we're adding, and it'll be just helpful when we're graphing as well. What do I have to do with that 3 now? Subtract it. So y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 0.5. So just know that if this is what you get and you're looking for maybe the multiple choice option, let's say it's a multiple choice question on the test, hopefully we know our fractions right, because what would a half be as a fraction? Just 1 over 2, right? It's the same thing.